What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is Ryan with the Roundtable of Wraith, bringing you another character or class analysis or deep dive. For this case, it might be a shallow dive once you guys figure out what we're talking about. But I am joined by Mr. Chris Mena himself. Chris, how you doing?
Doing good, Ryan. How are you?
Dude, I'm all right, man. Pounding these videos out. It's fun, kind of getting back into analyzing things and talking about it and giving our terrible opinions on everything.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
So the class that we're going to be talking about today is an interesting one. We've recorded the warrior one and the ninja one, but we're going to pivot a little bit and talk about the merchant class. Um, Chris, you have kind of been the I'm excited about this class, but I feel like you've been kind of like the champion behind all of these merchant cards. Like every time we've seen something spoiled, your mind has gone elsewhere. So do you want to touch on what excites you about this particular class and now that we're getting kind of some support for it?
Yeah, I guess it's just interesting in the fact that, to this point, the only other legitimate merchant card, is Cavdane, who, similar to these other merchant cards we're going to talk about, the use of them is still kind of a mystery in a sense. And, just coming from playing other card games, over the course of the past 5 to 7 years or so, casual multiplayer play has become a very popular way to play some of these other games. And it seems like, it's kind of interesting that LSS is just kind of giving us a little hint as to what's to come. But at the same time, it's kind of awkward because there isn't full support yet for the class. So it's kind of a weird in between spot, you know?
Yeah, a lot of people are like caught in between like you're excited but also you can't really do anything yet and it's strange. I mean, we don't have an adult merchant. You just
Hmm.
cannot play merchant in CC because you just don't have an option to do so.
Hmm.
I guess you can play one of these younger guys, but I mean, you're obviously not going to do that. But it's a very intriguing class, whether this is going to be the token like PvE introductory class or we're going to start seeing this class kind of fleshed out as more sets drop. It's definitely intriguing. Feels badsy at times, I guess, but I'm more excited than I am down on this class.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, I think you've touched on it before, but at this point, I think everyone kind of understands to maybe lean on giving Legend Story the benefit of a doubt as far as like, well, why is this here? What's the point? It's not the best to open a majestic or legendary thing that you can't really use to its fullest power, but obviously they have a vision for what's going to happen, but um, we'll see what that is, I suppose, when we get there.
yeah, for sure. Let's start taking a look at these classes here, these cards here, and we're gonna first jump into the new hero that we got, Mr. Genus. What you need? Fancy little play on words there. He is the young merchant hero. He's got 20 health, 4 intellect. Once per turn action for 2 resources. Each other hero can put a card from their hand on the bottom of their deck. If they do, they draw a card, and you create a silver. If you gain no silver this way, draw a card. So interesting. We see silver here, where it's the new type of currency in the game now next to copper. But this card on face value seems like it's not necessarily too useful. Like, why are you letting your opponents filter if you're just drawing a silver or if you're just gaining a silver? So, what are your thoughts on Mr. Genus? What you need
Yeah,
here?
it's interesting that the action actually costs you money to use. Like it's not
Yeah,
even just free. Like as far as like in a way to like break even, so to speak, you have to actually pay to have your opponent get a benefit and you as well, or other players at the
right.
table. So in the previous video, I talked about PVE, and I feel like not to say that's a guarantee, but it seems like it is from the sources that we've seen and information that's been put out there. But if you have a what you need in your cooperative group, that is really, really good.
It's
Um,
strong. It's
yeah.
insanely strong.
And that's not even, we don't even know what the silver or what the money payoffs are yet either, as far as like,
Sure.
top of the ceiling. But I was thinking also for Ultimate Pit Fight situation, this character is an interesting one because it's kind of a fun uh, politicky thing for the table. Like, you can kind of leverage some things like, hey, don't attack me because I'm giving you some cards. Why don't you attack my neighbor instead? So, in that kind of way, it's going to be kind of fun. But not to beat a dead horse here, but we just don't know what's going to be going on with what you need, or if he's actually going to give us the supplies to do something really cool. But Um,
Sure. So do you think that, we'll ever see I hesitate to use the word competitive, but let's like not multiplayer. Do you ever think
mm.
we're going to see a merchant that is going to be playable in CC? And I mean, based on all this money and stuff, like, do you think that's eventually what we're going to get? Or do you think that this is straight up going to be a PvE class that, they'll support? Obviously, they gave him a legendary this set, but I don't know. I'm curious to get your thoughts. Like, do you
Yeah,
think this is just PvE, or do you think this is eventually going to lead us to a CC potential hero that is playable?
yeah. I guess it's hard to say. I mean, so far we've heard some murmurs about alternate win conditions and things like that, as far as accumulating silvers or coppers or golds or whatever. So
Yeah,
I think until that is revealed, it's going to be hard to say. I don't really know because, I mean, obviously they're leaving that door open, but
yeah,
it's an interesting thing because if you are just accumulating this money, is it going to be like a turtle shell kind of, you know, just defensive deck? Like you're going to be attacking your opponent in a competitive, constructed situation. So I don't know, but I think, knowing LSS, I don't think they would limit the class just to be used in one particular way. I feel
sure.
like they would be hopefully offering an adult merchant at some point, but all speculation. But I think it will happen eventually.
It's just interesting to me because we're six uh, sets in now, right? We've had Kevdeen or Kevdane, and we've now gotten this guy. We've got the legendary. We don't even have a token weapon for them to use. They have to use Talishar.
Yeah,
They can't even use a weapon. So like that is the only time that I've like or the only thing that I question about, what's going to happen because you're clearly wanting to build up this class. You have all these potions that I'm assuming will eventually, be uh synergize with this class in some capacity, right? He's the guy that sells you all the wares. And then at the same point, you have no class cards that are merchant specific. You have no weapon, but you also just gave them a legendary, which is crazy. So like, I'm very interested. Like this is why I like this class and why I do say that I've never questioned the design of LSS. They've always been on the ball, and some cards that we got 3 sets ago that we thought were trash are now all of a sudden really good. Valiant Dynamo is just a great example of that, right? It was terrible for 2 sets, and now all of a sudden we get one-handed support. That's a great card. So I do think that we'll eventually get some support. It's just they're doing it in a very interesting way. I don't, I
yeah,
don't, I don't. I'm curious to see where they're going to go.
indeed, yeah. And yes, like you said, kind of in a weird way, it's an interesting that they included a legendary in this set, which I guess we can
Yes.
touch on.
Yeah. Speaking of which, so the legendary that we're going to be talking about is the merchant equipment. It is an arms. It's for the arm slot. 2 defense blade break. So if you defend with it, it's destroyed. So similar to Mask of Momentum. At the start of each other hero's turn, if they have less health than you, they may draw a card. If they do, you create a silver. Like I
It's
love
yeah.
this card. I love this card because I have no idea what the hell they're gonna do with it. Like it's
Hmm.
gonna get support, but I have this card on face value is terrible. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
it's
exactly,
it's
exactly.
terrible.
I guess
Uh
if we can just use the best case scenario here, a PVE type situation, and if you have the palms and you have what you need, I mean, you have the ability to make a ton of silver
oh,
in a
all the
round.
time. And
Yeah.
you're also helping your buddies considerably.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But it's just funny because it's blade break, so you can't block with it because you're gonna want it to be there.
Yeah.
So yeah,
You're just hoarding this silver stuff.
yeah, yeah, indeed. And it's interesting too, like kind of going back to the what you need thing. It's an it's a funny ultimate pit fight politicking thing because you can be like, hey, if you don't attack me,
It's
yeah,
great. I
I
love that
got the
aspect.
palms. I got the palms. I'm gonna give you silver. All that's or a card,
Yeah,
whatever
attack
it is.
that Jamoke over there. You
Exactly.
want me. I
Right.
think that's so cool. That's a really cool aspect. Um, my head here goes to an alt win condition. Like there's going to be a card eventually that just says if you have X amount of this, X amount of this, or like copper, silver, or gold, whatever it might be. Like my prediction yesterday, I think we were talking about it, was an adult merchant that has the win condition printed as his ability.
Mm.
So like at the start of your turn, if you have 40 copper tokens, 20 silver tokens, or 10 gold tokens, you win the game. Like you just buy out and you win the game or something like that. That's where my head goes when I see cards like this because that is a pretty hefty downside for you to just get one silver token. And
Eh,
my there has to be a payoff. There has to be a reason to run this. There has to be a reason they put this as the legendary of the set. You
for
know,
sure.
we got three legendaries this set. One of them's a non-foil reprint. One of them's this trash that you can't even really play, and
Hmm.
then the other one is stalagmite. So there has to be a reason that they were like, you know what, we need this to be a legendary because it's too strong, and we're gonna give it this set.
The payoff better be good because as we've all seen, drawing cards in this game is very powerful. So to give
Yeah,
your opponent a card for free just to make, or free to make a silver, I mean, you better be getting something on the tail end of that to be
it
more
has to be
worthwhile.
because it is a May, so they don't have to draw, so they can decline it,
True.
which is interesting because then, there has to be a situation where they would not want to draw a card. I
Hmm.
mean, obviously in a mill situation or a fatigue situation, but there has to be a reason. This isn't just a forced trigger, so your opponent has some say. So why
Sure.
would they not want to draw a card? I wonder.
Indeed. I think maybe to your point about that win condition thing, like I believe they did also print that generic card that blows up the items or whatever, right? It's like
Right.
so that's an interesting little nod to just the fact that, let's say down the road once they do reveal the win condition, it's like, hey, we gave you this thing to answer that in Everfest, it's there.
Yeah, that's true.
But right
Which is
now,
nice.
besides Dash and maybe Prism, or I guess there's a few other scenarios you could use it, but I feel like that card's going to be kind of seeing the light of day in these sort of situations once that gets brought to the surface.
If it's fully realized, yeah.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know if you have it up or you can pull it up, but just touching on silver real quick.
Oh, sure.
It's all the way to the bottom on the generics, but
Yep.
here's the new token that we got. It's the new type of money. It's just action, three resources, destroy silver, and then draw a card. So you can kind of filter a blue if you have a lot of blues in your hand and you have this on the table, as opposed to copper, which copper was four resources, draw a card. So
Hmm.
if you're going to follow along, I would assume gold would be two resources, draw a card, when we do eventually get gold, which
That would make
I think
sense.
cop I think copper was the crucible. This was the next supplementary set. So if you're looking at projections, gold probably comes out in the three sets from now in the next supplementary set if we get that again. But
Yep.
um, yeah, just making a pile of silver is seems like it's going to be a relevant thing. And I think cash in the old crucible card. I think you only need two silvers. So
Mm.
destroy two silvers, draw two cards, which is
Hmm.
pretty good. Genus makes silver quite regularly, so I think cash in, if you ever were to play it with our merchant, cash in, I definitely would think would be an auto include in decks like that.
Sure.
Um,
I
yeah,
guess side
very
note, the
interesting.
the foil silvers look pretty sweet with that swirly thing in there.
Yeah, they
Looks
look
pretty
great.
cool. Yeah. I
They
feel like
look real
there's gonna
good.
be some merchant player eventually that's gonna need full swag, all foil tokens for their silvers.
50 foil silvers.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They're just gonna buy them all out. All right, so those were the only two merchant classes or class cards that we got this set, but there were a couple other cards that we just wanted to touch on because I think this also kind of hints at the potential support that this class might get in the future. Um, so the first one is the greatest name in the history of Flesh and Blood. So it is a majestic, and it is Knick Knack Bric-a-Brac. Uh, Jesus. I almost had it with a straight face. Uh, so it mimics the currency or the resource conversion of cash in once we get down there, but it's a three coster for two blocks, so not necessarily the best. As an additional cost to play Knick Knack Bric-a-Brac, you may destroy any number of copper, silver, and gold that you control. Search your deck for a card with amulet, potion, or talisman in its name. Put it into the arena, then shuffle. For each four copper, two silver, and or one gold, you repeat the process. So if you have a ton of silver, let's say you have eight silver, you get to do this five times because you do it initially for the card and then four additional times. So that's four potions, amulets, or five potions, amulets, or talismans that are automatically now on the board. So seems to be pretty crazy, right? You get to just do that automatically if you have the resources available. But like, what does this card do right now?
Yeah, not a whole lot, I would say.
You
It's kind of
know,
funny
like
because it's in the opposite sort of like it's in the opposite mindset of winning with accumulating money.
right.
So
You're
it's a funny
buying
thing.
these
Either
things.
you're trying to get all the money or you're blowing it all up to go buy all the items. So it's kind of a funny thing. There's a little contradiction there about, hinting at what could be coming next.
And like this thing, it doesn't have go again. It's a three coster. Like why do you want to hoard all these potions and amulets and talismans? Why do you need to have these on your field?
For
Like
sure.
it's
I
it's
was I
it's
was just thinking, um, maybe in like a PvE situation, maybe the merchant is gonna have some sort of way to like give the
share.
items to the team or something, and this is a
That's
way. I
cool.
mean, getting like to use your example, say if you get 4 silvers, which in this Gina situation seems pretty not difficult to do. Like,
Sure, especially if you have palms.
right, exactly. And if you can get 5 potions and like use them to help, that's really good. You know
It's
what I
really
mean?
good.
Yeah.
You're healing each other, you're giving people strength. Depending on how you build your deck, it's you're
Hmm.
kind of like you become the jack of all trades there. So yeah, I want to see why this card exists.
Yeah.
I don't know as of right. And again, it's a majestic. Like, why does a card like this exist, and why does it count as one of my 8 majestics that I pull from a box?
Yeah,
I,
indeed, indeed.
I actually didn't pull any in 5 boxes. I pulled zero of this card. So,
Well, you're probably
as you
feeling
can
pretty good
tell,
about that.
I
Yeah.
was I was gonna say, as you can tell, I'm not really that broken up about
Yeah.
that yet.
Yeah.
But
Indeed.
yeah, we'll have to see. And then like the last card that we wanted to touch on here, another majestic. This one I think has a little bit more play, generically. It's a blue now. It's called Cash Out. It's a zero coster. Again, blocks for two. And this one has go again, so it's at least better. But as an additional cost to play Cash Out, you may destroy any number of weapons, equipments, and or non-token items that you control. So again, potions, talismans, amulets, anything like that. Create a silver for each permanent destroyed this way. Go again. So it's basically you're the merchant and you're selling it all to these crazy people, but you're destroying everything. You're destroying your own weapons, your own equipment. They don't even have a weapon, so you can't destroy it. Um, and you get a silver now. This is intriguing. I like
Hmm.
this card. I like this card more than Brick Brack Take a Bath or something.
Take it back.
What take whatever. But this is the type of spice that I like. Like, ooh, why are you destroying your own stuff
Hmm.
just to get silver? Like, why is silver important? You know something, James White. Tell us.
Yeah, for sure. Like we've been talking about this whole time. This card kind of leans into that accumulate X silver and you win the game thing.
Yep.
You're on that last turn and you can, let's say, net 4 or 5, and there you go. Boom, you got it for 0.
Yeah, and all those the amulets, I think, not the potions, but the amulets all have go again. So it's like you can just have a
Mm.
handful of amulets, play four, and then eventually draw this. And now you have 4 silver
Sure,
for
yeah.
just destroying those things.
The ultimate
So
play would be to bric-a-brac your thing,
yeah.
and then you cash out, and then you bric-a-brac again, and then you
Oh,
cash out, and you just loop it over and over, and nothing ever
this
happens.
That's never.
Yeah,
You're selling and making terrible investments.
right, right. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I don't.
definitely interesting card. And like you said, them printing these at Majestics is certainly not a mistake, I guess. But I mean, I guess at the same time, if it was a rare, it would probably be a cycle, which doesn't make a lot of sense. So,
Yeah,
um, but yeah, it's super interesting, and it it kind of just makes you just want more of it. Like, what's going on here?
yes,
The
yes.
mystery is the whole thing.
That's why I love it. It's like, dude, these cards are trash, and you're making them not seem. You're playing it off as if they're not trash. Like, why are these cards here? Like,
Hmm.
what are you not telling us? And that's we were talking about it yesterday when we were doing the Warrior record. Is like, all the young specializations for Benji and the Kasai, KO and Datadal. It's like you have four of those majestics, then you have the three heroes, not including Starvo because he's his own thing, but you have like Icelander, Genus, and Valda, who you only ever want to pull one of those, and then you have these two majestics. So now that's 9 majestics in the set that you either don't want to pull multiples of, or it's just such a feel bad because you don't know what direction LSS is going to go, or you don't play Blitz, so you don't want any of the younger hero stuff. So I can see why people like look at this card and be like, wow, this set's kind of terrible. But my mind goes to where yours did. Is I see the merchant cards and I'm like, oh, you got to give us more. Like I'm begging now to see where you're gonna go with this.
For sure. I think that kind of appeals, or it's cool that in a way it appeals to collectors who want everything like you and I. But at
Yeah.
the same time, the way that these supplemental sets are, if you're just a player of say one or two classes, you can pick up everything for that class like relatively cheaply.
Oh yeah, you don't have to spend money on the box at all, especially this set where you don't even need a legendary really.
Right, right.
You can just, I mean, if you want a skull cap, this is a good time to invest in that because they're cheaper than the rainbow foil ones. But yeah, if you're just a class player, you can pass this set up and then just completely just buy out singles, and
Yeah,
it'll save
you
you
don't have to worry
so
about
much.
your legendary being the palms. You can just go uh, buy the majestics for your class and your set.
Exactly. All right. Well, any closing thoughts on the merchant's class here?
No, I mean I think just to kind of close it up, it's I do definitely understand the sentiment of people not liking that there's a legendary that doesn't matter right now. I totally get it, and
Sure.
it makes a lot of sense to feel that way. But it's just for me, the intrigue kind of outweighs the negative. I think, and even for me as a collector, it's just cool to have it, and it's silver
I
palms
agree.
cold foil looks cool, and I'm all about it. And once in a X amount of time, when you can go back and you can revisit these cards and be like, all right, we're rolling now. Let's get it going. It's been sitting
I,
and collecting dust for a while, so.
I think it was Bun that said his prediction, or maybe it was Steven. I think it was from Team Covenant for sure,
Mm.
though, because they were talking about this class too. And the question was, Merchant will be the first class to have all four slots class legendaries. So
Oh.
eventually we'll get Merchant legendary chess piece, a Merchant legendary helm, and a Merchant legendary. But like they'll release it little by little,
Mm.
and eventually you'll have this like $1,000 class of equipment, and it's just this merchant.
Well, I mean, I guess thematically, the merchant should have the swaggiest
Yeah,
gear, right?
got the wares.
Yeah, the wares indeed. Yeah, but the weapon, we'll see. It'd be cool. It'd be funny if it's just like a support class for like multiplayer,
It's
and
it's
then
like
they don't even have
his
a weapon.
or
It's like,
it's like his like cart that he like
yeah,
travels around with. Like it's the
right.
first ever vehicle, and it's just this
it's a
counts as a two-handed weapon.
it's his point of sale. His little, thing. Yeah,
His sign out front.
but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. Well, on that note, if you guys have any questions or if you share some interest in the merchant class like Chris and myself do or have, please comment on it. Let us know what you guys think. Let us know if you're excited or if it's just a waste of slot and you're pissed off because you pulled a legendary for a class that doesn't exist yet. Otherwise, thank you guys for tuning in and watching. Be kind of on the lookout for more of these videos. We're gonna we'll steer back into actual playable classes after this video. But with Chris and everybody else, this is Ryan with the Roundtable, and until next time, see you.